I'm a facial profiler, facial analyst. I particularly work with people in negotiation, not so much with the technical aspect of negotiation, but with the behavioral communication side, and also in helping people to read their counterparts across the table. So you get your communication right in terms of how they need to receive it, but also you get to figure out what's really going on for them behind the words they're using and behind any paper, detail, etc., that they're presenting in terms of their offering or their service. Now, what we're going to do today, what we're going to talk about, or what I'm going to talk about, is not so much the technical aspects, because I'm working from the presupposition that you've got your preparation done, you've got all your details in order, you've done your due diligence in terms of what your position is, what your counterpart's position is. So we're going to just look at some behavioral aspects and preparation aspects, communication tips. This is not a religious bit, but the Catholic Church has long had someone in the position of what they call devil's advocate. And what the purpose of that person is to argue the opposite position to what the church is proposing, so that they have a fully rounded argument in front of them. And what I highly recommend, if a negotiation is likely to be difficult, challenging, contentious, that you do what's called a premortem. Now, we're all familiar with the term post-mortem in terms of after somebody died in difficult or maybe suspicious circumstances, but to do a pre-mortem can be a massively powerful way to approach a negotiation. So you engage with a trusted mentor or advisor or business colleagues, and you get them to prepare and articulate the toughest possible opposition to your proposal, every possible objection. And you go through it together and you prepare yourself thoroughly, so that going into the room, you're automatically entering the room with a greater deal of confidence and knowing you're really as fully prepared as you could possibly be. Because for many people, negotiation can be nerve-wracking, can be massively stressful, and even sometimes even if you go in feeling calm, things can become heightened during the process. So stress can arise. So the more prepared you are in terms of having done a pre-mortem, having done full preparation, the better your chances are likely to be of having a successful process and outcome. Whether it's in a real room or a virtual room, I always, always, always recommend you enter the room with a smile. You enter the room with the full, what we call the full Duchenne smile, where it's not just your mouth, but it's also your eyes. So there's four parts. You'll see the corners of the mouth turning up. You'll see the cheeks turning up the lower cheek. You'll see the cheeks rising here, and you'll see the eyes narrowing. And people pick up on a full, natural Duchenne smile very quickly, even on screen. And there are practical reasons for giving the full smile. Number one, whether we expect it or not, and whether we realize it or not, it triggers a mirror neuron response in us. It triggers the production of oxytocin, which is the bonding chemical. It tells our counterpart that we are not a threat, that we are open to doing business, that we're amicable and sociable in our approach. So automatically, it helps to not just release our own armor, but also helps them to relax and be more conducive to engaging productively. Curiosity is essential. It's very easy when we go into a negotiation, particularly if we're feeling anyway tense, to hold fast to our own ideas, our own opinions, our own viewpoint, and to want to be almost to be very tenacious in getting our point across and in winning the deal according to our initial position. But being curious and being open to learning about the other person, the people across the table, not just their proposal, not just the detail about their services, but who the person actually is, getting behind the words they use, helps to create a degree of openness in them, helps to build relationship, and again, helps a negotiation to proceed in a much more productive manner than might have been the case if we just drove ahead with our proposal. Listening is a key and very underrated skill. We often talk about it without actually doing it. Active listening, but also alert listening. And alert listening means not just listening for what the person says, but how they're saying it. Listening for what is not being said, what is being omitted, or what is being avoided. Many people in a negotiation or in an average conversation are not so much listening as preparing to speak. So actually stepping back and listening, slowing things down, taking time, and actually really paying attention, as I said, not just to the words, but to the tone of voice, what's not being said, and what's being omitted or avoided can be very, very revealing in terms of where the person is really coming from, as opposed to their initial presented position. Tone and pitch of voice in particular are, again, very important. One of the people who's particularly influenced me in terms of my own approach is a guy called Chris Voss. You may have heard of his book, Never Split the Difference, which is, I think, the top-selling book on negotiation. Highly, highly recommended. He talks about the late-night DJ voice, where you're speaking very slowly and calmly, and you're almost seducing the person into listening. You're lowering the tension. You're relaxing them. And taking time with our speech. Many people, when they become stressed, concerned, anxious, they speed up. Things become fast. Words become almost a jumble, and it creates tension in the room. So slowing down, taking time, speaking a little bit more slowly, a little bit more measured, again, creates an atmosphere of calm. And an atmosphere of calm is generally far more productive, far more suited to actually engaging in productive business. Learning to stop talking is also a vital skill. How many of us have talked ourselves out of a deal by simply talking too much, again, not listening and not allowing silence to work its magic? So I've got a little test for you now. For many people, I'm sure that was kind of uncomfortable. Studies have shown that the average European, and I don't know if it applies in the US or Canada, but the average European is comfortable in silence up to about 8 seconds. That was 30. If we can become comfortable with silence of 30 seconds, just sit, relax, even smile, allow the silence to build, it's a very powerful place to be, because often what happens with our counterpart is they feel compelled to speak, and they feel compelled to present information that they weren't thinking about initially. They tell us something that reveals some aspect, some new aspect to the conversation, to what's really going on behind, again, the information initially presented. And it's, again, a very, very powerful tool, but it's being comfortable with silence. It's not just keeping silent and staying and having really stressed facial muscles or facial or posture, which will reveal itself very quickly. It's relaxing into silence and allowing it, as I say, to work its magic, because silence can have immense magic in a negotiation. William Ury, in his book, Getting Past No, recommends when a negotiation becomes tense or fraught, which it often does, and that applies in business situations because there are numerous stories of very high-level business negotiations which have become very fraught indeed, where people thump the table, get up and shout, throw cups across the room, often even threaten to grab their counterpart or do serious violence to them. It also applies in domestic circumstances. And I'm sure we've all had situations where things got a little heated, shall we say. But William Ury recommends when things become heated, in our mind or literally physically, get out of the room, go to the balcony, as it were, take an overview. What's really going on here? What's really important? What is the desired outcome? Because it's so easy to get caught in the tension, the stress, and even the aggression, to be influenced by it, to lose our center, to lose our focus, and then the negotiation either falls apart or we lose badly. But if we can take the overview, remain calm, keep our perspective, remember what the desired outcome is, again, it enables us to proceed very, very productively and constructively. Again, greatly enhances the prospect of success. So often, during a negotiation, when things become tense, the so-called elephant in the room, it is always, always advisable to name the elephant, but never in terms of, you have said this, you have done this, you have made me feel. Never point fingers. Naming the elephant means it feels like, it seems, it appears that whatever the issue is, let's see how we can resolve it. I'm open to your suggestions. I'm open to hearing your, I'm not open to your suggestion, I'm open to hearing your suggestion or your proposal. Saying I'm simply open to it means it implies that I'm accepting it, but I'm open to listening to, or I'm open to hearing, just opens the door for a counterpart to just let off steam, and again, lowers the temperature in the room. With me, there's always one more thing. When I'm meeting an individual, when I'm doing an individual consultation, I'm looking at a face, there's always one more detail. But in a negotiation, there's always one more thing. And in particular here, the context in which I'm mentioning this is when a negotiation comes to a successful conclusion, what often happens for people is they shake hands, literally or metaphorically, and they exit the room. But when the negotiation comes to a successful conclusion, I always recommend asking, okay, we're both happy with this, so what else can we do? What else can we negotiate on? What else can we discuss? Who can you introduce me to? So remember one more thing. And again, people remember primarily, Gallup are the world's biggest survey organization, and their research shows that in a negotiation, or shall we say a challenging conversation, people are likely to remember two things first: the point of highest tension and the last thing. If there's no great tension, they remember the last thing. So always, always, always leave the room with a smile, because ideally you want the relationship to continue and you want the opportunity to do more business with these people, these people in the future. That's it, guys. Thank you so much. I'll put a link to my YouTube channel in the chat, because there's a load of short video tips in there that might be useful. So you're welcome to view them and subscribe, and welcome any questions.